quadratic equations by completing the square. So this section is really about something not done. It's called completing the square. Meaning, like those perfect square trinomials that used to factor, the first term was squared, the last term was squared. Okay, well what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that c in ax squared plus bx plus c, where c is a perfect square, we're going to just put in a perfect square. We're going to make it up. Okay? So remember what I said to you guys earlier on in the year. There's rules that you have to follow. You can add anything to an equation that you want, provided you do it once on the left and once on the right. You can multiply, divide by anything that you want, provided you do it to all the terms, right? Okay, well today we're actually going to add c to this equation. So I'm adding something to the equation, but the rule is if I add it to the left side, I have to add it to the right side. Alright, so completing the square is adding a term to your equation. Alright, and it's a special term. It's going to be a squared term. And it's going to be a squared term in the way that it can factor. Okay? So, here's what we're looking at. Step one. If you already have a c term on the left side, if you do, move it to the right. Right of the equal sign, okay? If you do. Some of your problems today, they're already going to have it on the right side. And I'll show you some examples here. 2, here's what the completing the square part is. You're going to add, so you don't have to write this. This is the form, remember, ax squared plus bx plus c equals y. You're going to add half of b, so b divided by 2, and you're going to square it to make it a perfect square. You're going to add that to both sides. And as we do these problems, you'll see that it'll factor into one of those special case formulas. Like what you were doing when we had the parentheses and had a square on it. To get rid of the square, what do we do? We took the square root, right? Okay, so what we're doing is we're forcing the left side of the equal sign, which is where we're going to have everything. It could be on the right side, but basically we're going to have everything on the left side. We're forcing it into a special case trinomial. So where it factors into a plus b quantity squared, a plus b, or a minus b quantity squared. One of those two forms that you all have memorized, right? Okay. Step 3. It'll make more sense as we do it. It's factor into a special case, which is what I just said. You remember what those were? A squared plus 2ab plus b squared. That factored into a plus b quantity squared. Anybody not recognize that? Now what's the other form?
Quantity a plus b, quantity plus times a minus b.
Okay, now that would be the difference of two perfect squares, and if you get that, that's the easy one. What's the other one that looks like this one? There's 3 of those. You answered the other
A
one.
minus b squared equals a squared plus minus 2ab plus 2.
Yeah, so this is a minus and that's a minus. That's the other form. Okay, now, as I'm talking about this, I want you to kind of understand where the b over 2 comes from. If I take this form and divide it by 2, I have ab, right? Alright, so as I factor it, I'm going to get this form over here, and you'll see that when I do the expressions. But they just didn't make this up. They figured out how to make this into a perfect square trinomial by doing this formula. All right, so this right here is what you get out of today's lesson. That formula, that expression, that term that you're going to add. You need to remember this forever. Okay, that's completing the square right here. All right, step 4. Then you're going to take the square root. Why do we do that? Why would we take the square root after we've factored it into this form? Yeah, because you want to get a plus b by itself. You don't want the square up here. Remember, this is going to be equal to a number on that side. And when you take the square root, what's it give you? It gives you a plus and a minus, doesn't it? All right, so all we're doing here is one extra thing from your previous assignments. You still have to do the same stuff you've been doing. All right, and then 5 is solve. You're going to have a plus, and then you're going to also have a subtraction. So you're going to get 2 answers, provided the parabola goes up through the x-axis, right? Or down through the x-axis. It is still possible you only have one answer, and it is possible that you'll have no answers, which means it doesn't go through the x-axis at all. Thinking about a parabola here. Okay, you following me with that? That's the abstract stuff that you're supposed to be getting out of all of this. All right, let's actually do something here. Example 1. X squared plus 10x equals 24. Notice that the c term is already on the right. If the 24 was over here, first of all, it would be minus 24. Would it factor?
Yeah. But
If that was minus 24,
Yeah,
what would it factor into?
6 and 4.
No.
No, my. Oh, 2.
Negative 2 and positive 4.
Negative 2 and positive 12. All right, so I picked this one because it does factor, but I wanted you to see, okay, so just, you don't need to write this down. X squared plus 10x minus 24. If we factored that, x minus 12, x plus 2. Negative 12 and 2 times 2 gives me negative 24. Oops, wait. Positive 12 and negative 2 gives me positive 10 when you add them together. So everybody sees that it factors. Now my answers would be negative 12 and positive 2, where it would cross the x-axis. So is everybody following me on that? All right. The reason I chose this is so you can see what the answer is going to be before we actually do completing the square. All right. So, step 1, move everything to the right. We did that, or move C to the right. That's already done. Step 2, complete the square. So B is what?
10.
B is 10, not 10x. B is 10. So half of 10. Now, and this is what I want you to do at this point. I don't want you to write down what 10 divided by 2 is. Don't write 5 in this spot. I want you to actually write whatever B is over 2, and then you're going to put the square symbol there. And then over here you have to add it as well, but you're going to add what it is. 10 divided by 2 is 5 squared, 25. Everybody understand?
Yes.
The purpose is this. Now, 10 over 2 is 5. You could actually write 5 in this spot. Don't square it. Eventually you're going to have a fraction that isn't going to give you a whole number. Leave it as the fraction. Because when you find the factors, when we factor it, the factored part, the b in this position, will be whatever's in this parentheses. So don't square the fraction that's in there and then be like, okay, how do I factor this trinomial when I have a fraction for c? Because you'll be like, I don't know what to do. The point is, whatever's inside this parentheses goes in this position right here. So you don't have to think about it much. Okay? So, what do we have? X squared plus 10x plus 5 squared equals 49. Step 3. Factor. What's this going to factor into?
25.
So if this was 25, think about it. Because I want you to think through this. If this was 25, what would go in these positions? If that was 25, which it is 25. 5 and 5, right?
X plus 5.
X plus 5 and X plus 5. Do you all get that? Is there
Yes.
anybody in here that does not see that?
No, I see it.
Okay, here's the point. What'd you say goes here?
5.
5. Well, what's that?
5.
My point is, whatever is in this parentheses goes in this position.
Oh.
That's my point. So if you get a fraction, and you will get fractions that go in this position, don't square them, because that is what's going to go in this position. That's just a shortcut. Otherwise, you're going to have to sit there and think, okay, how do I factor that?
That's pretty cool.
Okay? All right, and then this is 49. Now you get what we did the other day. How do I solve this? Step 4, square root both sides. What do I get? X plus 5 equals plus or minus 7. Now what do I do, Steph? Subtract 5. So x equals negative 5 plus 7 or minus 7. Okay? You with me? Alright, so x equals negative 5 plus 7 is 2. Negative 5 minus 7 is?
Negative 12.
The answer to this, remember, we want the zeros. The answer to this would be negative 12, positive 2.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, so the point of completing the square is when it does not factor, you now have a tool to use to make it factor. You're completing the perfect square. That's why it's called completing the square. Yes? Negative 5 plus 7. Here, let me rewrite it. Plus 7 and negative 5 minus 7. So when you take the square root of a number, you get a positive or negative. So that's what it means when you do a plus or minus. You're doing 2 calculations. All right. How many people have the light bulb turned on today? How many people got all that? All right, let's do some more. There's a few of you struggling up there. Y squared plus 4y minus 21 equals 0. Does it factor?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Who said yes over here?
Reggie.
Reggie, what is it?
Positive 7, negative
X
3.
plus 7,
Yep.
x minus 3.
Yep.
So my answers are going to be, for my zeros, negative 7, positive 3, right?
Can we just factor if that's quicker?
Yes, that'd be fine. I picked all these first 2 to factor so that you can see how easy completing the squares. The next 2 don't. Okay? All right, so we know what the answer is going to be. Let's go ahead and complete the square. Step 1, move C to the side.
Positive.
So y squared plus 4y equals 21. Whenever we move terms, we just change the sign. That's all. It's that easy. Now, everybody try set up step 2. Complete the square. Half of b squared added to both sides.
Do you want the answer?
No.
Or not the end answer, but what's next?
The factor special case.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
Y plus 2 equals 25.
Good. Who got this, or who made it to this step? Okay. Is anybody totally lost? From here to here? Okay. Factor this trinomial form. You know how to factor, right? Chapter 9. If this is a 1, which it is, then all you have to do is come up with factors of 4 that add up to 4. 2 and 2. Not 1 and 4, 2. And they're all pluses. So we have a y plus 2 times a y plus 2. That's
Okay,
where it is.
yeah, I just.
Okay, so that's what you're doing.
Is
And
that the same thing for?
they will all either be, they'll all be in this form where it's the same binomial. It'll either be a plus or it'll be a minus one of the two.
I was just thinking that was more than one, but I was like, this is.
Okay, so what do I do now?
You take the square root of both
All right, good
sides.
job. Everybody finish it, see if you get the right answer.
Will you always be able to do that?
When you complete the square, yes. That's the whole point. You are forcing this into being a perfect special case trinomial.
What about the other side?
The other side, you're just gonna get numbers.
So it might not be a perfect square, you might get decimals.
Right, which you'll see in the next two examples. So I picked the easy ones to do first.
Okay.
Because I'm kind like that. Finish it, come on, let's see what you get. And isn't that what we said the answer was for your zeros? Even though it says y there, they just use a different variable, that's still your x. We're across the x-axis, okay? Okay, ready for one that doesn't factor? Yeah.
Wait, if you factor that one, that could be -4 on just factor it.
If I factor this,
No, before you do solve any of it.
here,
Yeah, that could be -4.
y minus, or plus 7, y minus 3, right?
Yeah.
So my zeros would
Oh.
be -7 and +3.
Okay.
Okay. All right, two more examples, guys. Example 3. 3w squared minus 18w minus 20 equals 0. There's one. What's the problem with that? What's the matter? Right, but also one other thing.
There's a 3 in front of
The coefficient on your square term must be 1.
Oh, right. So we gotta divide everything by 3.
There we go. What do we get when we divide it by 3?
6 and 20 over 3.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful? Now, go through the steps. See how far you can get. I love this because we are now at the point where you guys are using your brains. Some of you don't want to. You guys are really smart. This is where it starts to come out. Yes, so far. Remember, you're taking whatever b is and dividing it by 2. And, all right, I see, before you keep going, b, you're saying b is -6.
No.
Does it really matter if it's negative, because aren't you squaring it? And you square negative, it's a positive?
Yeah, it does matter,
No, it doesn't.
because when you factor it back in.
See, this is, when you put it in this position, this is a plus.
2 negatives.
You're adding it. Because you're still squaring it, the negative goes away. In this position, it's gonna be a positive, and a positive over here.
But when on this side, you turn it,
But your factored form will be minus because of this minus, not because of this right here.
oh, so it's, okay.
Okay? This right here is what I'm talking about, Luke. If this is minus here, then this is minus on this one.
Okay.
That's the shortcut. I mean, we can do some factored stuff like that just to jar your memory. All right, I'll do a couple steps here. So you should have moved C to the right. And 6 over 2 is 3. Squared, you're going to get positive 9. So this is plus 9 here. All right? So this becomes y minus 3 quantity squared on the left. This becomes 47 thirds on the right. Painful, isn't it?
47 thirds.
And now you need your calculator. You need, and make sure you read your instructions and how far it wants you to round. I would take it out minimum the hundredths place.
8, 5, 6.
Yes.
I don't know how I would do that on my calculator.
Take 47, divide by 3. Don't round it, and then hit your square root button. Then round it. Alright, so we're going to add 3 to both sides, so 3 plus or minus 3.96. 6.96. Negative. Anybody? Okay, that's why it doesn't factor. When something doesn't factor, it doesn't mean it doesn't go through the x-axis. It just means it doesn't go through at a nice, neat point. Factoring, if you can factor something, that means you get nice, neat points where it crosses. It still crosses the x-axis. It just doesn't cross at a nice intersection, like your graph. Did I do it wrong? Is that right?
I got something completely different.
All right, did you get this?
I got 6.856.
Did you take 47 divided by 3?
Oh, no, I took the square root of 47 and the square root of 3.
You took the square root of 47, and then you divided by the square root of 3?
I didn't divide it, I just had,
Well, that's division. So it's the same thing as this, square root of 47 divided by the square root of 3, but you gotta,
I think I'm gonna divide.
you'll still get the same answer.
I think I'm gonna divide 47 by 3 first.
All right, everybody try this one. 7m squared plus 24m minus 2 equals m squared minus 9.
Wow.
What do you want to do? Huh? How about we first get the letters on the left and keep C on the right. So let's subtract this 1m squared over here. 6. So it's 6m squared plus 24m. And add the 2 to this part. Because you got to get C over here.
-7.
-7. It's ugly, isn't it?
Yeah. I really don't want to do this wrong.
So what are we doing? We're trying to get ax squared plus bx right here and c on the right. That's where you want to start. And a needs to be 1. So now divide everything by 6. And you have a problem kind of like what we just did. Everybody finish that. Complete the square. And I'll write the answer on the board here in a minute. Don't round until you're done. The best you can. Here's my advice. If you round, I wouldn't round less than 4 decimal places if you're going to round in the problem before you get to the end. How do I get the second line? Subtracted m squared on the right to the left. So 7m squared minus m squared is 6m squared. Added that c to the other c. make yourself do this or fall behind.